October 2016. Customers around the world began uploading the same terrifying videos. Brand new GoPro drones lifting off smoothly, hovering for a few seconds, then falling straight out of the sky like dead weight. No warning, no system failure alert, just gravity. Within weeks, GoPro was forced to do something no major consumer tech brand wants attached to its name: a global product recall.
We just got a recall on the GoPro Karma. They're recalling everything. Just for a full refund, they're not even exchanging them. So they're saying that they're falling out of the sky and losing power. So we're actually gonna go fly this for my first time and see if we can prove them right and see this thing fall out of the sky.
At the time, GoPro was already worth over $3 billion less than it had been just 2 years earlier. Investors were nervous, sales were slowing, and now the company's most ambitious product ever has publicly failed. What began as a single recall would trigger one of the fastest brand collapses in modern tech history, wiping out over $9 billion in shareholder value, destroying investor confidence, and permanently changing how the world saw GoPro. This is the true story of how a company that once defined an entire generation of creators made a bet so big, it almost erased its future.
How does GoPro not become just a kind of a fad?
I think we have an unfair advantage as far as a consumer product company goes anyway, in that we're really building these products for ourselves. GoPro's somewhat been a selfish company from the beginning. It started with me wanting to capture photos of myself and my friends surfing. And now that we're where we are now, we're still just engineering products for ourselves, only we're able to do so much more now than we ever were before.
Before drones, before Wall Street, before the billion-dollar valuation, there was just one man and repeated failure. Nick Woodman's first company, an online gaming platform called Funbug, burned through nearly $4 million in venture capital before collapsing during the dot-com crash. His second startup failed even faster. By 2002, at 26 years old, Woodman was broke, discouraged, and facing the reality that Silicon Valley might have already spit him out. Instead of quitting, he borrowed $235,000 from his parents and disappeared to Australia and Indonesia to surf. Out there, he faced a simple problem that every surfer had. No camera could survive the water, the crashes, and the chaos. So he built one, by hand, in his parents' garage. That crude wrist-mounted camera would later evolve into GoPro. By 2009, the GoPro Hero HD changed everything. Suddenly, everyday people could film content that looked cinematic. The internet exploded with first-person action footage. YouTube creators were born overnight, and GoPro wasn't just selling cameras anymore. It was selling identity. The financial growth was staggering. In 2010, GoPro made about $64 million in revenue. By 2011, that number jumped to $234 million. By 2013, revenue surged past $986 million. In June 2014, GoPro went public at $24 per share. Within 4 months, the stock rocketed to nearly 98, pushing the company's valuation to over $10.2 billion. Nick Woodman became America's highest-paid CEO, earning roughly $284 million in a single year. At its peak, GoPro controlled nearly half of the global action camera market. It wasn't just winning, it was untouchable. But beneath the celebration, a silent threat was growing, one that GoPro never fully prepared for. By 2015, smartphones had quietly become the most dangerous competitor GoPro had ever faced, and GoPro barely noticed it happening in real time. Apple's iPhone 6s introduced 4K video recording. Samsung added optical image stabilization. Suddenly, the gap between a $600 action camera and the device already in your pocket was shrinking fast. According to market analysts at IDC, global standalone camera shipments began declining by double digits every year after 2014, a devastating signal for any company built entirely around hardware. Inside GoPro, the numbers were getting uncomfortable. Revenue growth slowed sharply in 2015, missing Wall Street expectations multiple quarters in a row. Units were still selling, but not fast enough to justify a $10 billion valuation. The most terrifying question in the boardroom became impossible to ignore. What happens when everyone who wants a GoPro already owns one? Wall Street didn't reward steady businesses. It rewarded expansion, platforms, ecosystems. The investors who pushed GoPro's stock near $100 expected the company to become more than just a camera brand. That pressure led Nick Woodman to approve the most dangerous pivot in GoPro's history: drones. On paper, the logic seemed perfect. Drones were exploding in popularity. Aerial footage was becoming mainstream. And GoPro already owned the camera people wanted mounted on those drones. If GoPro could control both the camera and the flying platform, it would dominate adventure content from every possible angle. But there was one massive problem. GoPro had zero experience building flying machines. By then, DJI, a Chinese drone manufacturer, had quietly become the global leader in consumer drones. By 2015, DJI controlled an estimated 70% of the global drone market, with years of experience in flight control systems, battery optimization, GPS stabilization, and collision avoidance. These were disciplines GoPro had never mastered. Despite that, GoPro committed more than $200 million to building its own drone, later named Karma. To make it happen, GoPro went on a hiring spree. The workforce ballooned from roughly 1,000 employees to over 1,600 in under 18 months. Entire engineering teams were rebuilt from scratch. Manufacturing stretched across Asia, software development expanded in California, and nearly every dollar in profit was reinvested into the drone project. The company had officially bet its future on a product category it did not understand. In September 2016, Karma finally launched at $799 without a camera, putting it head-to-head with DJI's far more advanced drones at similar prices. Reviewers immediately noticed missing features. No obstacle avoidance, no subject tracking, shorter flight time, inferior stabilization. Yet loyal GoPro customers still rushed to buy it. In the first few weeks, around 2,500 units were sold worldwide, driven almost entirely by brand trust. For GoPro, that trust was everything. The company had spent over a decade convincing the world that its products were indestructible. Then the videos started appearing. Karma drones falling into lakes, dropping onto hiking trails, crashing near families, power cutting instantly mid-air. Within days, it became clear this wasn't user error. It was a systemic failure. Engineers eventually traced the issue to the drone's gimbal mounting system, which could detach under certain vibration patterns, interfering with internal sensors and triggering total shutdown. It was a flaw that slipped through months of lab testing because real-world conditions created vibrations simulations never fully captured. GoPro didn't collapse because it failed at what it was good at. It collapsed because it tried to become what it was never built to be. The most dangerous moment in business isn't failure, it's peak success. Because that's when companies stop protecting what made them legendary and start chasing someone else's future.